Deep within the untouched wilderness, where sunlight struggles to penetrate the dense canopy, lies an ancient fear. It is a primal dread that has haunted humanity since our ancestors first sought shelter beneath the trees. The forest, in all its natural splendor, holds secrets best left undisturbed. We are but visitors in this domain of shadows and whispers, where unseen eyes watch our every move, and the unknown lurks just beyond the firelight. These are not mere ghost stories or campfire tales designed to frighten children. These are real accounts of encounters with the unexplainable, whispered by those who have dared to venture into the heart of darkness and live to tell the tale. Prepare yourself, for we are about to delve into the chilling reality of 3 terrifying true stories from the deep woods. Each tale is a chilling reminder that some mysteries are best left unsolved, some doors better left unopened, and some paths never to be traveled. Our first story takes us to the remote forests of the Pacific Northwest, where a group of campers experienced something that defies explanation. It was a crisp autumn evening when Mark, Lisa, and their friends decided to camp out in a secluded part of the forest. Everything seemed normal at first, until they heard it. As the sun began its descent, casting long, eerie shadows through the towering trees, the group gathered around a crackling campfire. Stories were shared. Laughter echoed through the woods, and a sense of ease settled upon them. But as darkness enveloped the forest, the atmosphere shifted. The once comforting sounds of the wilderness transformed into an unsettling symphony of unseen creatures and rustling leaves. Then it began. A slow, deliberate knocking, rhythmic and insistent, emanated from the darkness beyond the firelight. The campers fell silent, their laughter replaced by a growing unease. At first, they dismissed it as a woodpecker or some other nocturnal creature. But the knocking persisted, growing louder, closer. It seemed to be coming from all directions at once. And then, the whispers started. Low, guttural voices, speaking in a language they couldn't understand, slithered through the trees. The air grew heavy with an oppressive dread. The campers huddled closer to the fire, their faces illuminated by the flickering flames. As panic sets in, the campers began to try and leave. As they grabbed their camping gear, symbols began to appear. The symbols were unlike anything they had seen before. Twisted shapes and runes that seemed to writhe and pulse under the flickering light of their flashlights. And then, the true terror struck. Their car, their only means of escape, had been vandalized too. It was covered in strange, blood-red handprints, and a chilling message smeared across the windshield. "Stay with us." As they tried to drive away, their headlights illuminated figures in the forest's edge, dark shapes moving swiftly, too quick to be human, too deliberate to be a trick of the light. Desperate to escape, they raced down the narrow forest road, only to find their way blocked by fallen trees, as if the woods themselves were conspiring against them. With their escape route cut off and the shadows closing in, they could only drive forward, their nerves fraying with each passing second. Eventually, they burst out of the woods, their hearts pounding, their minds reeling from what they had seen. They never returned to those woods, and their nights were haunted by the memories of what watched them from the darkness. Our second tale of terror takes us to the vast, sprawling woodlands of the Midwest, where dense forests give way to rolling hills and hidden hollows. It is a land of rugged beauty and quiet solitude, often overlooked by those seeking the dramatic vistas of mountain ranges or the crashing waves of the ocean. Yet, beneath this veneer of tranquility lies a darkness as deep and ancient as the woods themselves. An experienced hiker drawn to the solitude of the wilderness set out on a solo trek through a remote section of forest. He had traversed these woods many times before, confident in his navigational skills and knowledge of the terrain. But on this particular day, he stumbled upon something he had never encountered before, a small, dilapidated cabin hidden deep within a secluded grove of trees. The wooden structure was weathered and worn, its once bright paint faded to a dull gray. Drawn by an unknown force, the hiker pushed open the creaking door and stepped inside. The interior was dark and dusty, the air thick with decay and long-forgotten memories. As the hiker explored, he discovered a small wooden chest beneath rotting blankets. Inside, he found yellowed photographs, tarnished silverware, and a leather-bound diary. The diary belonged to a man who had lived in the cabin decades earlier, a recluse who had sought solace in the solitude of the woods. The entries were filled with ramblings about strange occurrences, unsettling dreams, and an overwhelming sense of paranoia. The man believed he was being watched, hunted by something he couldn't explain. As the hiker delved deeper into the diary, the entries became increasingly frantic and disturbing. The man's once neat handwriting devolved into a chaotic scrawl, the words filled with fear and desperation. He wrote of scratching sounds outside his door at night, disembodied whispers that seemed to emanate from the very walls of the cabin, and a shadowy figure that he would sometimes glimpse through the trees. The hiker felt a chill run down his spine as he read the final entry, dated just a few days before the man's disappearance. In a shaky hand, the man had scribbled a single terrifying sentence. "It knows my name, John," written in blood across the page. The man began to leave in a hurry, as scratching started coming from the walls behind him. It followed him all the way back to his car, intensifying until he could no longer hear anything. Then suddenly it stopped. The man began to drive away, trying to forget about the terrifying encounter he had just experienced. He never spoke of what happened again. Our final tale of terror takes us to the dense, primeval forests of Eastern Europe, a region steeped in folklore and ancient legends. These are woods where superstition and reality intertwine, where pagan rituals are still practiced in secret, and where the echoes of the past linger beneath the canopy like a persistent fog. A group of loggers, hardened by years of toil in the unforgiving wilderness, were clearing a remote section of forest when they stumbled upon something that sent shivers down their spines. Deep within the ancient woodland, hidden amongst the towering pines and gnarled oaks, they discovered a clearing unlike any they had ever seen before. The clearing was eerily silent, devoid of the usual sounds of birdsong and rustling leaves. In the center lay deep impressions, perfectly circular and spaced at regular intervals. Scattered around were strange objects, bones, both animal and seemingly human. Piles of stones blackened as if by fire. The loggers cautiously moved through the clearing, examining the artifacts. They began to hear a low, humming sound, a deep, resonant drone. The hair on their necks stood on end, and a primal fear gripped their hearts. Then, from the corner of their eye, one of the loggers caught a glimpse of movement in the trees at the edge of the clearing. A tall, shadowy figure, its form obscured by the dense foliage, seemed to be watching them. It moved with an unnatural fluidity, gliding silently through the undergrowth, its eyes 2 points of malevolent red fire in the gathering gloom. Terror took hold of the loggers. They had stumbled upon something best left undisturbed, a place where ancient powers still held sway. Dropping their tools, they fled the clearing, the sound of their own terrified gasps echoing through the silent woods. They ran until they could run no more, the image of the shadowy figure seared into their minds. These 3 terrifying tales, each unique in its details yet united by a common thread of fear and the unknown, serve as chilling reminders that the wilderness holds secrets best left undisturbed. What caused the rhythmic knocking and guttural whispers that terrified the campers in the Pacific Northwest? What drove the recluse in the Midwest cabin to madness, and what became of him? What ancient rituals took place in the clearing discovered by the loggers in Eastern Europe? And what was the shadowy figure that watched them from the trees? These are questions that may never be answered, mysteries that continue to haunt the depths of the deep woods. As we venture into the wilderness, seeking solace in its beauty or adventure in its challenges, let us remember that we are not alone. The forest holds its secrets close, guarded by forces both ancient and unseen. And sometimes, when the veil between our world and the next grows thin, we catch a glimpse of the horrors lurking in the shadows, waiting to claim those who dare to venture too far from the beaten path. So the next time you find yourself surrounded by the dense trees and whispering leaves of the deep woods, be careful. You never know what might be watching you from the darkness, listening to your every move, waiting for the opportune moment to reveal itself. Remember these tales, for they serve as a stark warning. The wilderness is a place of both beauty and terror, and sometimes the line between the two can be razor thin.